Well, all right. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Thumbs up from Matt. I see. Awesome. Good. Well, cool. I'm excited to be with you guys. Again, as I had mentioned on Tuesday when we did this, I've got it to where you can unmute yourself. So you're welcome to either throw it in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and ask any questions or things. So I'm excited to get going with you today. I think I do have it figured out again to where I can do the whiteboard on my iPad so I can write stuff. I do have my iPad up here. So anyway, I left everything written on the board from what we talked about before. I know you probably can't see it as well. So I will definitely be throwing that up from the iPad on my whiteboard as well. So here's where I want to get started though, is just first with what questions do you guys have about the process? So from sitting in on what we talked about on Tuesday about it, do you have any questions or comments, anything before we jump in and get going on what we're going to talk about? I'm going to take that as a no then, I guess. All right. Well, cool. Well, let's do this then. So I'm going to just do a little bit of a refresher real quick, just to kind of make sure that you guys are up to speed and remembering what we are talking about. On our meetings that we have with people, whether it's with a buyer or a seller, the way that we have all been trained to communicate typically gets in the way of us being able to do our job effectively. And as a result of that, what we're going to talk about today is I want to take you through the process and to help you understand how to communicate in a more effective manner that will help you to have more success with your clients as you work with them and go through things. So keep in mind, now, in fact, I'm going to turn my thing here this way as I throw it up on the iPad here. I'm going to go to the whiteboard here. I actually think I may have figured out how to have this stay so that when I quit sharing it, but or maybe I'll just leave it shared the whole time, the whiteboard. But here's the thing to keep in mind. Remember that who you are as a personality, 10% of who you are is conscious, 90% of who you are is unconscious. And so what happens is we tend to communicate with people at the conscious level, which makes sense. And that's because up here at the top here, this is where things are logical. So this is where things are logical, they're rational, they're reasonable, all of those things. So because of that, that's where we tend to communicate. But the problem is when someone is making a decision to buy or sell real estate, that is an emotional decision that they are making. And so because of that, that tends to get made down here in the 90% range. Well, see, the decisions are made at the 90%, but then they talk to us in terms of the 10%, which is where things are logical, they're rational, they're reasonable. And so that's why they say things to us like, well, I don't know how to explain it to you, but I'll know it when I see it. See, when they say that, what they're really communicating to you is, I understand it down here, I just don't know how to communicate it up here. And so because of that, our job becomes more difficult because we tend to listen to what they said. And because of what we heard them say, we then assume that is what they wanted. Meaning when I said the other day, the home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, we assume that is truly what they actually want because that's what they said, when in reality, sorry, I had to cough there for a minute. In reality, they're explaining it to us the best that they know how to explain it to us, but that's not really truly what they're wanting. It's just their best way of explaining it. Well, now, the result of that is this. So let me draw this up here. So remember, they're going to talk to us about features, but what they really want to buy is the benefit. Sorry, my handwriting is bad enough as it is, but for whatever reason, writing on my iPad is even worse. But so they're going to talk to us about features, but keep in mind that they're really buying the feature because of a benefit that they want. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. So is someone willing to interact with me? So if somebody will unmute that will interact with me about, and I'm going to do it as if you are the buyer of a house. And what I want to do is talk about it from the standpoint of being a buyer of a home. And what I need is someone that would just be willing to unmute and share with me a feature in the home that is really, really important to you. So, all right, go ahead, Matt. I see your hand up. Oh, so Tim's saying it won't let you unmute. Let me double check. No, it should be able to. Yeah, are you not able to unmute either, Matt? Oh, let me redo it here. All right, try it now. All right, well, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hit unmute all, and then if you guys will just mute yourselves.
That worked.
Okay, yeah, if everyone will just mute themselves unless you've got a question or something, then that way, and if I need to, though, I'll go through and mute if somebody doesn't mute themselves. So, all right, so you're ready.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Tim.
All right, thanks.
All right, so Matt, let's do this. So give me the feature of a house that is, so meaning if you were going to be buying a home, what would be a feature that would be really important to you to be able to get?
A great kitchen.
Great kitchen. Okay, so now let me show you guys how this works. So over here under the features, we're talking about the kitchen, okay? So keep in mind, we're talking about his kitchen here for just a minute, but what I'm going to show you is how we transition that from the feature to the benefit. And then I'm going to get into the more of the process of it. So I guess think of it this way. What I'm going to do right now is shorthanded a little bit for you guys to be able to show you the process and what it looks like. But keep in mind that the actual you doing this with a client is going to take longer than what I'm going to do it now. So I'm shorthanding it just to show you. Okay. All right. So Matt, so one of the most important features of a home to you is the kitchen. Now,
Yes.
Tell me about that. Like, what is it about the kitchen that is so important?
Well, it seems like my family spends the most time there, and I've got a smaller kitchen. We just have an island, so we can only fit 2 people to sit, that seating area. The other area is further away, and it's not a good area to sit down at. So I'd like a bigger kitchen, and I'd like more room for cooking too. It seems like we're always running into each other in our kitchen.
Okay. So tell me about some of the things that, I mean, obviously you're going to use the kitchen for cooking, but what other things do you use the kitchen for?
We watch TV from the kitchen too. Our living room connects to our kitchen, so we walk into the living room to watch to things. We seem to talk about our day over coffee. My wife and I talk about our day, what's going to happen. This sounds weird, but unloading the dishwasher, loading the dishwasher. We've got the dogs on the other side of the kitchen, so we're also constantly letting them in and out. Our garage actually goes out of the kitchen, so we're coming in and out of the house through the kitchen. What else? We just seem to spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I just wish it was nicer.
Okay, so what would having it nicer, what would that do for you?
It would get, I think, everybody more room in the kitchen. I think people could sit down and enjoy themselves a little bit more. They could eat a little bit more in the kitchen. I'm a little embarrassed because the flooring's old in the kitchen. The countertops are 1974 still. Okay. So it'd be nice for when people come into the house, I guess it's their first impression too.
Okay, perfect. So what would having that bigger, nicer kitchen, what would that do for you? What would it mean to you?
It'd mean more time with my family. It'd be more time to sit down and enjoy our food and talk about our day with each other. More time to relax in the kitchen. Good.
And so, why is all of that important? What is it about that?
I think it's enjoyment with the family, time with the family.
Okay, good. So here's what I'm hearing you say. So I'm going to write it over here for you guys. It's family time. Which I told you I would give you trying to make that into an E, but it's not working real well. I told you I'm going to give you the 15 benefit words, which family time is not one of them. The word actually, the benefit word is love, actually. So really what I hear you saying is the importance of you having this bigger kitchen is a way to be able to show your family how much you love them and spend that time with them together.
Yes.
Okay, good. So hopefully you guys saw that. Now, as I said, I'm not actually demonstrating this whole entire process to you, but I was wanting to just give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. So what we are doing when somebody starts talking to us about the features, you got to keep in mind that it's not the feature they're going to buy. They're really going to buy the benefit. And so what we've got to do is help Matt to figure out that the benefit, because they show up doing this. What will happen is just what Matt did. They show up saying, I need a bigger kitchen and it needs to be updated and not da-da-da-da-da. All these things, which is great. And that is a part of it, no question. But the other piece of it to keep in mind is really what he's looking for, though, when he's walking into a house to buy, what he's actually looking for, though, is he's looking at it from the 90% down here. He's looking at it from that perspective and saying to himself at an unconscious level, now keep in mind, this stuff's all going on at the unconscious level. He's saying to himself when he walks in, can I see me spending the time with my family in this kitchen, and is it going to give us the time together to grow closer together that he really wants at this unconscious level? And so that's what's going to make the decision. Now, if you'll remember that I told you on Tuesday, features have a price tag, benefits do not. There is no, you can find the benefit in every single price range that's out there. So it does not matter the price range. So, and it's so important. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over again today. The price range does not matter because you can find the price range, or excuse me, the feature, the benefit in every single price range. That's what's so cool about this, is because once we transition Matt from the feature to the benefit, once he understands that, now, in fact, let me just make sure you guys understand. So remember, the way that the brain works is it stores information in these discrete locations. So it puts this information in these discrete locations, and it stores the pictures in one area, the decisions we've made in another area, and the feelings in another area. Now, what happens though is because this information is stored in these discrete locations, these separate areas, that's what makes it, in fact, let me try to tie this together. That's what makes it down here in the unconscious, is because the information is there, but because it's been separated out, what happens is we can't bring it to the surface. So that's why they say, well, I'll know it when I see it. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll know it when I see it. Well, our job then becomes, how do we help them be able to see it and understand it before they see it, I guess, is probably the better way of saying it. How do we get it to rise to the surface before they see it? Well, the way that we do it is through these pictures, the decisions, and the feelings that we're talking about here, here, and here. So what we have to do, though, is once that happens, once we have this reintegration of the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings, is something we call crystallization. Now, what you are trying to create with a client. Now, this does not matter if you're with a buyer or a seller. When you're on a presentation, what we are trying to create in them is this crystallization. Once crystallization occurs, they are empowered to make a decision. But until they do, until they've crystallized, they won't make a decision. So here's what I'm saying to you. For you guys that have been in the business for a little bit, when you've had a client that you've gone out and shown homes, or that they're saying to you, we're not sure if we want to sell our home yet. We've been thinking about it, but we do, we don't, we do, we don't. What they're telling you is this: they have not crystallized. That's what they're telling you. When you have somebody that continues to want to look at more houses and more houses and more houses, they're telling you they have not crystallized. Now, your job as an agent is to get them to crystallize. Now, keep in mind that crystallization is a process that has to occur before anybody will make any major decision. Getting married, crystallization has to occur. Anything you purchase, crystallization has to occur first. Until crystallization occurs, you won't make the decision. That is just the way that it works. So your job becomes helping people to crystallize. And there's a process to that that we're going to go through. And I started on Tuesday with you, but I'm going to remind you on today that we're going to go through. There's this process that you're going to take them to help them to crystallize. And here's what it looks like. So if I was giving you a 30,000 foot view of what this process looks like, what it looks like is we're going to start first with the pictures. Then we're going to get them to talk about decisions they've made and then the feelings they've had about it. So in essence, what you saw me do with Matt was a shorthand of this. I had him start telling me about the kitchen. Once he started telling me about the kitchen, then I asked him a few of the decisions. And then after that, I asked him what was important about it, which is a way of getting the feelings to come together. This is where crystallization occurs. See, once they've crystallized, we no longer talk about the feature. We're going to talk now about the benefit. See, if I were to go show Matt a house today, after what we've just talked about, when we walk in the house, see, what most of us typically would do is we would walk into the house and we would turn to the kitchen and I would say to Matt, hey, so does this kitchen look like it would work? Or, you know, we would talk about the floors or the island. We would talk about the features of the kitchen, but not me now. Instead, what I'm going to talk to Matt about when I walk into a house is I'm going to say, hey, Matt, does this kitchen look like it would work for you to have that family time that is important to you? See, I'm getting him to make the decision based on the benefit that he's looking for, not the feature. That's why I keep saying, and you're going to hear me keep saying, features have a price tag, benefits do not. Features have a price tag, benefits do not. Because you can find the benefit in any price range. So keep that in mind as we go through this. All right, I'm going to, if anybody wants any notes or anything of this, take it real quick because I'm going to go to a new sheet of paper here to take you through this process. But just keep in mind that there are real needs, there's perceived needs, and I don't think I said this on Tuesday, so this is why I always do a little bit of a refresher, is in case there's something I may have left out on Tuesday. Keep in mind that what happens is this. See, when I'm talking about these features and benefits, we tend to communicate one thing, but we mean something else. So make sure you put that in your notes somewhere, highlight it, underline it, put stars next to it, whatever. But part of the problem in our communication that we have with other people is we tend to communicate one thing, we say one thing, but we actually mean something different. See, when you ask somebody to describe for you their ideal home and they say to you, well, here's what I would like in a home, they're communicating one thing. Remember on Tuesday, I talked about I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights. That's communicating one thing. But what I mean when I say I want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights, what I meant is all of the different things you guys brought up. Meaning it could have been prestige, it could have been privacy, it could have been health, it could have been comfort. It's any of these. That's what I mean when I say people communicate one thing, but they mean something else. They're communicating home high on a hill with the view of the city lights, but what they mean is they want a house that gives them that feeling or that gives them privacy. And if they can find privacy in a house that doesn't have the high on the hill with a view of the city lights, they'll buy it. See, we don't have to get exactly the feature, but they do have to have the benefit. Now, here's the other piece, and then we're going to go into the process of it. People buy, and now remember, when I say buy, this includes sellers because they're buying you as the agent to help them sell the house. People buy in 2s and 3s. So if we're talking about specifically the buyer of a house, they buy in 2s and 3s, which what that means is the home is going to have 2 or 3 benefits that they are looking for, or they're not going to buy it. But if it has the 2 or 3, they'll buy it. So when you see somebody with a husband and a wife that go out and look at houses, what's going to happen is something like this. Without this process, you would go out and show them houses. She falls in love with it. He doesn't really want to buy it. You've all seen this before, or it has been you. And here's what happens. He falls in love with it. She's not sure she likes it, or vice versa. What is going on when she falls in love with it? It's because it has her 2 or 3 benefits. The reason he doesn't want to buy it is because it's missing 1 or 2 or 3 of the benefits. See, when they come together is what it has her 2 or 3 benefits, his 2 or 3 benefits, it comes together, they're ready to purchase. Until that happens, that's why we get into this struggle of them kind of, well, I like it, but it's just missing this or whatever. It's because it's missing one of the benefits. Our job then becomes, I've got to find out what are the 2 or the 3 benefits that they're looking for in the property and getting them to crystallize on that so that they understand that's what it is, so that they don't have to see it in order to get that feeling. We're going to get them to get the feeling before they see the property. That's what our job becomes. So how do we do that? That's what we're going to talk about next. Now, before I jump into that, any questions? Either unmute yourself, throw it in the chat box. No? All right. I'm just trying to kind of keep an eye on, if I notice you guys unmuted, if you don't say anything, I'll probably mute you again just so that I make sure we don't have background noise. All right, here we go. So let's go through this process now. And I almost wonder, you know what, I'm gonna actually try one thing real quick on this. So I'm gonna stop sharing there. I'm gonna do it from my computer, or try it from my computer here. Because I think if I type this, you'll be able to see it a little bit better. So, all right, here we go. So the first thing that we had talked about the other day is we want to be using directives. Now remember that directives are exactly like that. Think of it as the director of a movie. And that's what your job actually becomes, is for you to be this director of the movie. So we're going to use something that is called directives. And the purpose of that, again, is your brain works like a computer. And because your brain works like a computer, you're going to get responses according to the information given. Now, as I listen to people make phone calls, prospecting calls, as I listen to agents do these type of interviews and things, one of the things that I notice with this is we tend to ask a lot of closed-ended questions. We ask a lot of yes-no questions, meaning what typically happens is something like this. Most agents would say, to a buyer of a, so we're talking about the buyer of a house, they're going to say, hey, so how many bedrooms do you want? How many baths? How many square feet? How many car garage? What size lot? What location you want it to be in? What's your price range? Like, we ask all these 20 questions of bullet points. Well, that is what blocks crystallization. If you remember what we're talking about, that is typically going to block the crystallization from taking place. And remember, until they crystallize, they're not going to buy. Once they have crystallized, they're in power, okay? So the way that we're going to do this is we want to be asking questions that are either starting like this. Describe for me. I want to ask things that are tell me about, share with me, or help me understand, okay? So that's how we're typically going to do this, is we're going to start with this. Now, in actuality, there's a piece before that that I'm going to come back to later, but I'm just I'm going to take you through the process of this causing crystallization first. Then I'm going to remove that for a second, and we'll go through, like, think of it as a blueprint. So like if you were going to build a house, the contractor gets a blueprint that tells them this is what you got to do, and this is the pieces you're going to use and all that. So I'm first going to give you basically the tools we need to build this. Then I'm going to give you the blueprint of how to build it. So hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying. All right. So tool number 1 is going to be something called directives. Now, also contained within directives is going to be something we call prompters. Okay. So prompters, oops, if you can't spell a word more than one way, which I probably still did spell that wrong, you're just not very creative. So just keep that in mind. When I misspell a word, it's because I'm so creative is why. All right. Now, here's prompters. So we're going to use prompters that are going to look like this. Keep going, say more, or what else? Now, what tends to happen, though, is when we're communicating, what we tend to do with people is we tend to do something like this. I would say, and here's what I've observed. First off, people will tend to ask questions that are more about them, and I think we did this on Tuesday, but if not, remind me and I'll do it again. We tend to ask questions that are more about us and less about the client. So that's the first thing. The second thing that I notice what happens is in our communication where we get ourselves in trouble is we will tend to ask a question like, and for me, the ideal first question that you're going to use with the buyer of a house is describe for me your ideal home. Okay. Let me expand this out here. We want to do describe for me your ideal home. That's a directive. Now, what tends to happen though is this. Is I would say to somebody, so let me see, let me pick on someone on here. I don't know, who's willing to, somebody else willing to unmute and let me show you what I mean? I'm just gonna watch for somebody to unmute and then that's who I'm picking on. And if nobody does, then I don't know what I'm gonna do. All right, what do we got in the chat box here? Oh, Tim's saying it won't let him. I have you guys unmuted, I thought. Will it not let anyone unmute? All right then. All right, well, raise your hand then. I guess we'll have to do this manually. So either raise your hand or throw it in the chat box, and then I'll unmute you if you're willing to do it. Nobody's willing, apparently. No, I'll unmute you. I just need somebody to throw in there that they'll do. Oh, Ellen raised her hand. Okay, perfect, Ellen. That'll be good. How are you doing, Ellen? I'm excited to have you here with us. Let me get you unmuted here.
I'm doing great, Russ. How are you?
Awesome. There you are. Good.
Here with you.
Awesome.
Again.
Okay, so let me just show you what typically happens. Is something like this. And why we're talking about the prompters here for a second is because of it. I'm going to show you the importance of them. So here's what most agents would do. So Ellen, describe for me your ideal home.
I'd like a home that's really open, has a lot of gathering room. We need probably 3 bedrooms, but the gathering room is really important. Open kitchen, living area.
Okay, so and most agents right there would just go, okay, sounds great. And then we would want to go on to the next thing. So what I want you to see in this process is what we want to do is we're going to stick with these directives for a lot longer than you would think we would. So let me show you what I mean. So let's rewind. We're going to start over, Ellen. So I say to Ellen, describe for me your ideal home.
I'd like a home that has a nice yard and lots of gathering area. We have a lot of family things and this house is just too small.
Okay, perfect. Hey, you're doing a great job. What else? Now notice what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the prompters for a minute. So what else?
It's really important that we have enough room to sit everybody down. When we get them together, we've got like 25 people.
Okay, perfect. Good. Tell me more.
I'd like the kitchen to be open to like the family room area. That way we can visit while we're fixing food or whatever. Makes people more willing to help with cleanup if they can still talk and visit and whatnot.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. Sure, yeah, keep going.
Makes it easier for parents to keep track of their little kids. We've got 16 grandkids, and if they are all here at once, it's a little bit mass bedlam, but at least they can keep an eye on them.
Sure, that totally, yeah, I can relate to that. I understand. So what else?
Let's see. I'd like to make sure I have a bathroom right off the kitchen for when they're coming in from outside.
Okay, yeah, sure. What else?
Let's see. I don't know.
Okay, so now here's probably what I would have said is, hey, you're painting a really good picture for me. Tell me more. You're painting a good picture for me. Keep going. What else do I need to know? Now, notice, but what I would do is I would keep doing that until they do what she just did. Is essentially you're going to keep using the prompters until they say, I don't know what else to tell you, or that's about it. I can't think of anything else. Something like that. Once they say, I can't think of anything else, I don't know what else to tell you, that's when I'm going to know, okay, I've exhausted that question, the describe for me your ideal home. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. All right, so the other thing that, and I don't know, what I'm not sure about is, and hopefully you guys can still see me on the, let's let's see what's going on here. Lost my, there we go. All right. The other thing that, let's see if I can move this box over here. The other thing that if you were watching me that I was doing is you want to give positive feedback along the way. So as they're talking, you want to be giving them this positive feedback. So if you were watching, if you can see me still, even though I've got the whiteboard up, if hopefully you've still got the little camera thing that you can see me as well. Typically while they're talking, I'm like that little bobbing dog in the back of the car. I just keep my head bobbing. And then as soon as they were done talking, I'm going to go, oh, that, yeah, totally understand. Yep, I get that. Yep, for sure. Oh, that's exciting. Wow. What else? Oh, yeah, for sure. So part of it, sometimes people will say that they have a little bit of a struggle with this because they feel like they're just kind of, what else? What else? What else? Well, if that's all you're saying is what else, or keep going, keep going, keep going, it is going to feel a little weird to them. So you've got to make sure you're using the positive feedback. So you'll typically in prospecting, you would hear me say you've got to repeat and affirm. But in this, I typically am going to be saying positive feedback versus repeat and affirm. Because I think of repeating and affirming as I'm repeating back what they said and then affirming it. On this, we are doing that. But sometimes, depending on the personality style of the person, they may talk for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes straight about what they want in the home. And what you don't want to do is go and then repeat back to them every single thing they just said for 5 minutes. In that scenario, we want to be doing positive feedback. So when I say that, part of what I want to be doing is shaking my head. Yes, oh yeah, totally get it. And saying stuff like that. Oh, wow. Yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, so being excited for them as they're talking about it is the positive feedback. So sometimes even just going, oh yeah, oh, what cool, yeah, neat, oh, that's exciting. Those kind of things is positive feedback. And you want to make sure you do that before you say what else or keep going, because otherwise it might feel a little bit weird to them if you don't do that, okay? All right, so tool number 1 is directives. Directives is about getting them to do it. Now, let me tie this back together for you. So I may have to see if I can still share my other screen. Well, it might mess it up. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, here's what I'm going to do. Remember we talked about the pictures, decisions, and the feelings. The pictures section, so our first thing we're trying to do is we got to get them picturing it. So when I say to somebody, describe for me your ideal home. Now keep in mind, your brain works like a computer. If I say, describe for me your ideal home, they're going to now then describe for me the ideal home, which what we're doing by asking the question through a directive is I'm forcing their brain to go and access where they have the pictures stored. So they're going to that part of the brain where the pictures are stored and starting to tell me what they would picture in this home. That's why we always start with tool number 1 is about, in fact, I'm going to throw that up here. Is tool number 1 here is about the pictures. Okay, perfect. All right, then next is the next thing is tool number 2. So tool number 2, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to say more about this, but tool number 2 is what we would then call modifiers. Okay, now the modifiers are going to be who, what, when, where, how questions. Now, for whatever reason, I don't understand why it won't let you guys unmute, but for some reason it's not. Typically at this point I would ask, so just throw it in the chat box, those who are on their computer. I know we've got a few on the phone as well, but throw in the chat box, what is missing from that modifier list? When you typically hear who, what, when, where, how, there's usually one other one that I didn't include in there. What's missing? That's right. The why is what's missing. Now, there's a reason that why is missing from this. The reason that I took the why out of it, why I don't have why showing up under the modifiers, is because the why is really more designed around the getting them to crystallize. That's what's going to land us on the benefit. So the reason that I do modifiers or the who, what, when, where, how questions is those are designed to go into, in fact, let me come back up here. This is around the decisions that they have made. So remember that there's three pieces to getting someone to crystallize: the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings. So the why questions usually are going to invoke the feelings of it. Why is a very powerful question. So you want to be careful with why, of asking the question why, because it is a powerful question, meaning it is either going to endear them to you or repel you from them, because that why. Meaning if you ask the why question too soon, well, why do you want that? It could be interpreted from them like you don't agree with it, that you think it's wrong, which is then potentially going to create an issue for you. So notice we don't have why there. So here, let me show you what this would look like. So with Ellen, when I said to her, describe for me your ideal home, she then started to describe for me what her ideal home looked like. As she described what that home looked like, then what I'm going to do is I would do the what else, keep going, tell me more, until she said that's about it. Now, once she has said that's about it, the next piece along the way, and I'm going to show you a blueprint of this, so I'll come back to it in just a little bit. But the next piece of it would be I'm going to have her rank them. Now, again, throw in the chat box here so that I see, this is the first test for the class. In order for somebody to purchase, how many benefits does the home have to have for them to make the purchase? Good, I'm seeing good answers. That's right, 2 to 3. So now notice what I'm going to do is, because it's got to have 2 or 3 of their benefits in order for them to be willing to make that purchase, what I'm going to do then is think of tool number 1, the directives, as being they're filling out a grid. And I'm actually going to show you a grid, and I will send it to you after the class. If you will throw your email in the chat box at the end, I will email you this grid that you would use. But you're going to be filling out this grid. As you fill out this grid, what you're going to be doing then is taking and think of it as that. In fact, I'm just going to, oops, messing up my computer here, I think. Hang on one second. Okay. On the board up here, I'm going to write, and you probably aren't going to be able to see it really well, but that's okay. I'm just going to do it real quick and show you. Basically, I'm just drawing a square, and then I'm drawing lines through that square to turn it into, picture like the mailbox that you would have at the office. As people are talking through to you about the different features and things of a home, you're going to be keeping track of those features in these little mail slots. So think of one of these mail slots as being a feature. So every time Ellen talks about a feature in a home, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put within that one of those boxes what that feature is. So she brought up the kitchen. So guess what box number 1 I'm going to label as kitchen. And then anything she says about the kitchen, I'm going to write in that box. When she goes and then she talked about having a bathroom off to the side, just off the entryway, that's going to be another box. So every feature is going to have its own box. Now, once they have done that, now remember, how long do I keep saying, what else, keep going, tell me more? Until when? I'm really annoyed that you're not able to unmute yourselves, but I don't know what to do. Yeah, so Brenda threw in there, until they say, I can't think of anything else, I don't know what to say, I don't know what else to tell you. Once they have done that, now I know I'm done filling this grid that I have filled out. Now, once I have done that, then what I want to do next is I'm next going to then have them rank them. Now remember, I'm going to show you a blueprint of this, so don't worry so much. I'm kind of giving you, I know, an overview that might not be real clear. I'm going to type out the blueprint for you so you understand it better. So before I go to the modifiers, I'm going to have them rank them. And guess how many of the features that they talk about, of those features they talk about, how many do you think I want them to narrow down to? So they may have given me 15 benefits or 8 or whatever. And I'm going to say, okay, of those features we've talked about, which ones, and here's how I'm going to say it, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important to you? Now, the reason I'm doing 2 or 3 that are most important to them is because they buy in 2s and 3s. So I have them tell me everything that they want so that I can get the pictures out of their head. Because remember, what are we trying to create? Type it in the chat box. What are we trying to, this is another next test. What are we trying to create? This is how I find out how good of a teacher I am. It's a one-word answer. Nice. I'm seeing it. Crystallization. Good job, guys. That's right. I'm going to keep hitting it because here's the thing. Of all the skills that I teach, this one skill, if you get it down, will make a huge impact in your business. But also, if you forget that the purpose that we're doing this whole thing is to create crystallization, it won't work. If you forget that that's what we're doing. And so just keep in mind, everything I'm teaching you and showing you is about one thing, and that is creating crystallization so that they're empowered to make a decision. Okay, perfect. All right, so once we have done that, I've gotten this, all of this information, I'm going to now have them rank it. Give me the 2 or 3 that are most important. They give me the 2 or 3 that are most important. Then I'm going to take those 2 or 3, and now I'm going to do the modifiers on those 2 or 3. So I'm going to ask who, what, when, where, how questions. So you'll notice when Ellen was telling me about her kitchen and having family over and those things, you will notice that during that time of her doing that, I didn't say anything. All I did at that point was say, oh, wow, yep, for sure. Oh, makes sense. I get it. Yep. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yep. Remember, all I was doing was the positive feedback and what else? Keep going. Positive feedback and prompters. Positive feedback and prompters. Now, the reason for that is because, remember, I'm trying to get all the pictures out of her head and onto a piece of paper for me. So out of her head to a piece of paper. Then from there, I'm going to say, okay, of all these features you talked about, what are the 2 or the 3 that are most important? Once I get those 2 or 3, I can now go through and let's expand on those 2 or 3. Now, what I'm wanting to expand on is the decisions she has made about those 2 or 3 features. And remember, the purpose of this, again, is to get her to crystallize. I'm going to keep hammering that, like, to the point that you guys are sick of me saying the purpose of this is to cause crystallization, because they are not going to buy or list until they crystallize. So your job is to get them to crystallize. And without this process, the way you get somebody to crystallize is you go show them a whole bunch of houses. So if you don't want to do that, go out and show a ton of houses, you got to be willing then to take them through this process and get them to crystallize first. All right. So now I'm going to ask them the decisions on those 2 or the 3 top features that they had. And what I'm going to ask is, so let's go back to, and we won't do this for the sake of time, but I would say to Ellen, so Ellen, you mentioned having family over. Who is it that you end up having over? Now, if she didn't say family, if she would have said people, I'd say, well, who do you have over? She's then going to tell me, well, friends or family, and this is what, After that, I'm going to go, okay, well, how often do you do that? How often are you having the family over? She's going to now start to tell me how often. Well, what kinds of things do you guys do when the family is over? She's going to tell me about that. Well, when do you do it? Where do you do it? What just any question you could think of that you could ask them that is going to be a who, what, when, where, how question. Now, the other thing that I would do on this, if she talked about the kitchen, is I would ask her, well, what's the layout going to look like? What are the appliances that you're going to have? How many cabinets would you have? What type of cabinets are you going to have? Who all uses the kitchen? What kinds of things are you doing in the kitchen? When? So just any question you could think of. Now, here's the thing. To keep in mind on this tool, these modifiers, is all about getting them to access the part of their brain where the decisions that they have made. So the first step up here is about getting them to picture it. Then down here now is we're asking them what are the decisions they've made that may be, again, at an unconscious level. Now, when I say that, some of this stuff, they may say, well, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. Well, it's okay. And how I respond, that's okay. Think about it for a second and what kinds of what would the arrangement of the furniture look like in that room? So one of the best ways that I do it on these modifiers is I usually will start with another directive first. When I get to the modifiers, so I would take Ellen and I would say, Ellen, picture yourself in the kitchen and tell me what you see. That's usually the first thing that I'm going to do And then whatever she tells me she sees, I'm going to ask who, what, when, where, how questions about what those features that she's telling me. So hopefully this is making sense. If you guys have questions, stop me, throw it in the chat box. If I'm going too fast, too slow, whatever. But I'm going to then ask questions. Now, on these modifiers, I need to ask on these somewhere between typically 5 to 7 any combination. Oops. Any combination. So it doesn't matter if I asked 5 who questions or 5 what questions or 7, whatever. But what I have found is you typically, and the reason I say that you're going to ask 5 to 7 of these questions is because agents typically don't ask enough questions. We typically, what we do is we get in a rush to get through this as fast as we can. We try to get through it so we can go and have real estate with our clients. Like that's what tends to happen is we want to rush through this. So don't rush through it. Slow it down. Be willing to ask enough questions. Now, here's why. Because what are we trying to create? Throw it in the chat box. What am I trying to create? Or try to unmute yourself. I don't know. I don't know why it won't. Okay, good. You guys got it again. I'm going to keep hitting you on it because we got to create the crystallization. If we don't create crystallization, you are wasting your time. So we got to get to crystallization. And the more questions you can ask them, the easier it is going to be to get them to crystallize. Because remember, there's those 3 pieces, the pictures, the decisions, and the feelings. So I've got to get them picturing it. Then I'm going to ask them the decisions they've made about it. What type of furniture, what type of flooring, what colors. Like have them describe it to you and who's going to use it, where are you going to use it, where would it be in relation to the rest of the house. So like Ellen brought up the kitchen. One of the questions I would ask on a modifier, in relation to the layout of the house, where would the kitchen be? See, what we're doing with this is forcing them into figuring it out and thinking through what's bringing it from the unconscious up to the conscious level is what we're doing, okay? So hopefully this is making sense, but typically you're gonna need 5 to 7. Now, the truth is you need to ask as many as it takes to get them to crystallize. Meaning when I do this, there are some times that I will do this with a client that I might ask 10 or 12 questions, getting them to picture it, to talk through it. There are other times I might ask 2 or 3. The reason I say 5 to 7 is I want you to realize you need to ask more than you think you need to ask in order to get this to happen. All right, next. So the third thing that we are going to do after we have done the modifiers, and remember, I'm going to ask those decisions. And when I say 5 to 7 of the modifiers, that's for each of the 2 or the 3 features. So let me rephrase that. If I have 2 or 3, and the way I'm going to figure out is they're going to tell me. It's them telling me, is it 2 or 3? And the way that I get that is by me saying, of everything we've talked about, what are the 2 or the 3? And then they're going to give me 2 or 3. Once I have 2 or 3, then I need to go ask questions on them, these modifiers, and I'm going to ask 5 to 7 for each of the features. So if I had 2, I need to be asking at least 10 to 14 questions on, and I'm going to do them 1 feature at a time. Don't mix them together or it'll create issues for you. You're going to deal with 1 feature at a time. So I'm going to take feature number 1 and ask 5 to 7 questions about it. Then I'm going to go to tool number 3 before I go to modifiers on the second feature. So make sure I don't lose you on this piece, because sometimes this is like the first spot that sometimes people get confused. So, and I'll show you what I mean here in just a second. But the third tool is what I call the tag. Now, I worked at a grocery store growing up as a kid. When I was 12 years old, my neighbor owned a grocery store. And what I did is at 12 years old, I went to my neighbor and asked him if I could get a job working at his grocery store. Well, don't ask me why, but for some reason, the first job he would always let kids have, because remember, I'm 12 years old at this time. And I go to him and say, hey, I want to work at the grocery store. And he says to me, great, I need somebody to clean the meat department, which you would never get away with that today. Could you imagine a 12-year-old going in there with the meat grinder and the saws and and cleaning all those things. Like, I just don't think you'd get away with it today. But that was the first thing he had me do. Well, I hated doing that because it was not a lot of fun to go just clean up all this meat that was left by the butcher. But I would go in and clean up the meat department. Well, when I turned 14, I went to him and said, now I'm tired of working in the meat department, because he would let you do that till you couldn't work out in the grocery store till you were 12 or 14, I mean, for whatever reason. So 14, I go to him and I say, okay, I want to work in the grocery store. And he says, great, here's what you're going to do. And so my job became, I would go and stock the shelves and face the food on the shelves so that it was all facing the right direction. But part of stocking the shelves was we had these little price guns that we would go and you'd put the price on it, and they called that tagging. So we would go tag the food items, putting the price tags on. That's why I call this third tool the tag. The tag is about, basically, we're now going to tag this feature with a benefit. So like me working at the grocery store, I've got this little price gun, putting the price tag on the food. What we're doing with the tag on this is we're now going to tag that feature with a benefit, okay? Now, the questions that we're going to use to do that are going to look like this. What does blank mean to you? Oops, gotta drag that over here. So what does blank mean to you? Or why is blank important to you? Now, so let me show you what this looks like. So again, going back to the beginning. So I say to Ellen, describe for me your ideal home. So I'm asking her this, describe for me your ideal home. She starts describing it. She describes it. And as she's describing, I'm saying, oh yeah, that's great. Oh, interesting. Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, that's exciting. For sure. Yes. Oh, wow. Oh, Then she quits talking. And when she quits talking, I'm going to say, hey, you're doing a great job, Ellen. I'm getting a really good picture. Tell me more. Or keep going. Or what else do you want in this home? And I'm going to keep doing those prompters until she says that's about it. Now, once she has said that's about it, then I'm going to take the grid and I'm going to have her now rank them. And I'm going to say, of the 2 or 3 the things that we talked, or excuse me, of everything we talked about, give me the 2 or the 3 that are most important to you. She's going to give me the 2 or the 3 that are most important. Now that I've got those 2 or 3, I'm going to say, of these 3 or 2, which one is most important? So I'm going to now rank them in order of importance. Once I've done that, and we're just going to assume that Ellen said kitchen. I'm going to say, great, Ellen, let's talk about the kitchen. Picture yourself in the kitchen and tell me what you see. She's now going to start to tell me about the kitchen. Once she has told me a little bit more detail about the kitchen, I'm going to come up and use 5 to 7 of any combination of these who, what, when, where, how questions on just the kitchen. Now, I want to make sure I'm really clear on that. Just the kitchen. So I ask her who's going to use it, where's it going to be, what furniture is going to be in there, where's the table, how's it going to be arranged, how often do you use it, what kinds of things do you cook, how often do you cook, what's the layout, what kind of cabinets, what colors would they be? Like, I'm just asking all these modifiers. She then tells me all of those things. Once I've asked enough of those that I feel like she really is picturing it, then I'm going to drop down to the tag for the kitchen. And I'm going to say, so Ellen, what does having that kitchen mean to you? Now, what should happen at that point is she is either going to say a benefit word or she's going to talk around it. So she's either going to come right out with one of the 15 benefit words, which I'm going to give you in just a little bit, or what's going to happen is that she's going to talk around the word enough. So what I mean by that when I say talk around it, one of the benefit words is love. And remember I said with Matt, as we were going through and we talked about the feature of the kitchen for him, he talked about family time and being together. Well, really the benefit word he's talking about is love, but he didn't say love. He talked around it by saying family time. So for me though, that's what the tag is where I'm now going to tag that feature as being love for Matt in the kitchen. So now because of that, remember, now I know what he's looking for in a home. His number one thing, or in this case, Ellen's, let's say that it was love in the kitchen. The number one thing she's looking for is a kitchen that she can show her family how much she loves her, that they can spend quality time together, and it's going to create that benefit for her. See, now that I know that, when I go out and show property, I don't talk about all the feature. I talk about, does this look like you could spend your time here with your family? Because see, there's more than one way. The kitchen doesn't have to have everything she said. So I know some of you are thinking that right now. So just realize once they land on the benefit, they'll realize they can meet that benefit in other ways. It doesn't have to be exactly the features that they detailed out. Now, it's probably got to be somewhat close to it, meaning like what I mean by that is this. Sometimes people might say something like, I want an open, bright kitchen. Well, what I just said to you is they will work around the features as long as it meets the benefit. Well, if I take Ellen into a kitchen that has zero light, natural light or whatever, that's probably not going to give her the feeling that she wants. So we do have to have some of the features in there, but just know it doesn't have to be exactly the way they detailed it out to you. And sometimes people are afraid, agents are afraid to have somebody detail it out to the level that I'm talking about because they worry that what's going to happen is that that person then gets so stuck on exactly the detail that they said. And that is possible if you don't land on the benefit. But once you land on the benefit and they recognize, hey, the purpose I want this is actually spending the time together. When you show the property, you talk to them about spending the time together, not about, oh, I know it doesn't have the exact flooring that you wanted. Like they're less worried about the flooring and more worried about the benefit they're looking for, okay? All right. Now, now that I've done that, so let's just say with Ellen again, to make sure you guys understand, I did this directives where I got her picturing the whole thing. I've written all of those things down. We now have narrowed them down to 2 or 3. On those 2 or 3, and specifically we said the kitchen was number 1. I ask all of these questions. Once I'm done with that, I go to the tag and say, what does having that kitchen mean to you? She then tells me what having the kitchen means, and she's either going to say a benefit word or she's going to talk around a benefit word. And once she has done that, I'm going to then tag it, and I'm usually on my grid going to just write in there that love is, that I'm going to have kitchen and all the details she had written or she told me, and then I'm going to write love on there, that's what it was. Now, then I'm going to go to the second thing that she said was important, the second feature, and I'm going to do the modifiers of 5 to 7 of those. And once I've done 5 to 7 of who, what, when, where, how questions on that particular benefit, I'm going to now say, and let's just, since she brought up the bathroom off the entryway, I'm going to say, so Ellen, what does having the bathroom right off the entry, what does that mean to you? And what she's probably going to say is something along the lines of, well, it would just make it really convenient because when people come in, they can wash off, they can leave their shoes or whatever there, they can get all cleaned up. The rest of the house is not getting messed up. Well, for me, what that benefit she just described would be convenience. So what I would say then is, so what it sounds like you're looking for in this bathroom right off the entryway is convenience. She's going to say, yep, that's what it is. Great. So see, what she's looking for is convenience. She's not looking for the bathroom off the entryway. If there is a way, meaning what if there was a sink, a little cubby, that there was a sink there but not a bathroom? Well, they may say, oh, well, no, that would work. See, they don't have to have the bathroom. They just say bathroom because they picture that's the only place you can have a sink or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, once we've done that, I'm going to label that box now as bathroom as being convenience. Then I'm going to go to her number 3 if she has one. Now remember, we're looking for 2 or 3. If she has 3, great. If she only has 2, that's fine too. Don't force 3 if there's only 2. So now I'm going to go for the third one if there is one, and I'm going to ask who, what, when, where, how questions. Same thing with that. Who's going to use it? How often are you going to use it? What are you going to use it for? What's the furniture layout? Where would it be in relation to the rest of the house? I'm going to ask all these questions. Then once I've done that, I'm going to say, so what does having that feature mean to you? They're either going to say the benefit word or they're going to talk around it. And then I'm going to land on whatever that benefit word is. Now, with that being said, let's, I don't know if this will let me. Let's see here. Let me go down further. I don't know. I may have to. Let me open a new page here. All right. So now that we've done that, any questions on that before I go in? I'm going to give you next the 15 benefit words. So let me know if you got questions first before I jump into the benefit words. All right, I'm taking that as a no. I'm either doing a really good job or a really bad, and you're so confused you don't know what to ask. All right. And I feel like it's the latter because I'm trying to cram all this in, which, man, this class is so much easier to teach when you're in front with me and we can actually do demonstrations and stuff. So anyway, all right, thanks, Julie and Ellen. All right, let's go through the benefits. So now remember, there's 15 benefit words. So what we are looking for as we go through this with them is as we're having them describe it, and we're going to say, what does having blank mean to you? What we're looking for is them to either say one of these words or to talk around one of these words. So these aren't in any order necessarily. These are just going to be in the order that they come to my head, which to some extent, it does kind of follow a process. But all right, so the first one that I usually think of is comfort. So think of comfort as being that, in fact, actually, since I'm typing it up here, I'll just write it for you. Sense of ease. So when I'm talking about comfort, it's a sense of ease. Thanks, Tim. So comfort would be a sense of ease. So remember on Tuesday when I said to you guys, why would you want a home high on a hill with a view of the city lights? And somebody said, I think it was Tim said, that he likes to just go out and sit on there, and it helps his spirit while he's enjoying some spirits. So that would be comfort to me, is a sense of ease. I think of comfort as being the, like you've had a busy day, you get home, you sit down in this chair that you like or out on the porch, and you just take that deep breath and just kind of decompress. That's comfort. So if somebody was saying they wanted the home high on the hill with the view of the city lights, which was what Tim said, is so that you can go out and sit on there and unwind from the day, the benefit word they're talking about is comfort. All right, number two. The number two is convenience. Convenience is about ease of, ease of use. So convenience is about ease of use. So typically when you're going to run into that is somebody wanting, like what I was saying, the bathroom off there because it's convenient. For me, the location that I would want to live in is going to be based around, I want to be close to having freeway access because of being an agent, you know, having to jump on and go show houses, I need ease of use. So convenience is always going to be about ease of use. So that may be having things organized, whatever. So that one's number three. All right, next. And on this one is, I usually forget this one, so I'm going to throw it up there while I'm thinking about it. And that's aesthetics. So the aesthetics is going to be about basically what it looks like. Usually when somebody's talking about aesthetics, what they're referring to is they're starting to get into the detail of crown molding or baseboards or chair rail, or the bricks got to look this certain way. One client that I had, when they were talking about it, and when I found out that one of the benefits they're looking for is the aesthetics, they started talking about they wanted a home that was an older home. And the reason they wanted this older home is because they were like, I want one of those houses that like the front door has got just one of those old doorknobs that they've like etched. Like when somebody starts talking about etching on a doorknob, they're probably talking about the aesthetics of that home. So that's how you'll know. I will tell you, it doesn't come up very often, but when it does, it's going to be something that's really important to them. All right. Next one is going to be, let's do health. Health is about just what it sounds like. So that would be, I want to be up out of the smog, or that could be, I want a pool in the backyard so I could go swim laps. Like something like that would be, they're talking about their health. Another example would be, I want a single story home because I don't want steps because I had my knees replaced and I don't want to be going up and down the stairs. That could be health, or, you know, bad knees, bad back, whatever. Those are going to be examples of health. Next, number 5 is going to be privacy. which we've already talked about that, but that one is going to, I don't want people to be able to look into my backyard, something like that. If they're referring to that, what they're talking about is to being able to have privacy. Or I want a room that I can go in and close the door and the kids aren't coming in and bothering me, blah, 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 like whatever. So that's going to be privacy. All right, number 6 is economy. Economy is about saving money. So if somebody's talking about they want high efficient windows and a furnace and tons of insulation or solar panels, like those kinds of things are all about saving money. What they're referring to is economy. And then number 7, which is somewhat related to that, but is going to be value. Value is about making money. So economy is about saving money, value is about making money. So if you had somebody, for example, so my daughter-in-law actually just, she hasn't officially graduated, but she has finished med school. So she's done with med school just this week. She has finished it up. Well, she's going to be starting her residency in 2 months. And as part of that, they're going to be, and luckily for us, she gets to stay at the University of Utah working for the next 2 years, but she will be 2 years in Utah and then 2 years in Pocatello. So if they're going to be buying a home, which they are, their thought process is we need to be able to have it be something that we can make some money because we got to sell it again in 2 years. So that could be one that they're looking at is value. All right, next. The next one is, I'm going to put it as prestige/esteem. So think of prestige and esteem as being 2 sides of the same coin, meaning it could go either way as they're describing it. So when they're talking about it, maybe their self-esteem that they're worried about, or it could be a prestige. Here's how I think about it. If it's prestige, it is about how other people see you. Esteem is about how you see yourself. So here's how I always think about it. If somebody was talking about this big, beautiful home, and as part of asking them the questions, what they ended up telling me is that they wanted this house because when their friends come over, they want their friends to look at it and be like, oh, wow, you live there? Well, if that's the case, then I would say that what they were looking for is prestige. But if what they said is, after I go work all day long and I come pulling up to my house and I look at this big, beautiful house, I want to be like, yeah, that's why I do this. Well, then I would say that's not prestige. That one's going to be esteem. So prestige is about how other people see me. Esteem is how I see me, okay? All right, next. Next one is recreation. And recreation is about just having fun, doing what they want to do, whatever. So typically, that one for me was my wife wanted, before we bought the home we're in now, my wife wanted to have a 1 acre. In fact, she even the other day said, I still want 1 acre. And I'm like, I don't want 1 acre because I don't mind going and working in the yard for a couple of hours on a Saturday, but I don't want it to be my whole day. So for me, because what I would rather do is go fishing or go do something fun, like recreate. So recreation is one of the benefits that I look for in a home is I don't want to have to do a whole bunch of work. I don't want to spend my evenings and nights having to fix stuff in the house. Like I want to be out doing something else fun. So that's recreation. Number 10 now then is going to be entertainment. Like that is going to be about, we want to have a pool in the backyard because we're going to have people come over to hang out and we like to entertain. That could be entertainment. So entertainment is about having other people over to their house. All right, number 11. Next one is going to be safety. And safety is about physical. It's about their physical safety. So here's what I've found actually. So these benefit words have been a little bit organic over time. And what I mean by that is that they typically, as time's gone on, they kind of have their roots in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but it's been a little organic because they're kind of based on Maslow, but it's not exactly Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So they've been organic meaning they grew to 15. In my opinion, I'm almost ready to take it back to 14 because I'm not really sure that actually safety is really one of the benefits. And here's why, is because number 12 is security. And security is about peace of mind. So for me, the reason I say safety, I don't know that it really so much is because what I have found is as I've done this over time, and I have sat down with clients and I take them through it, if somebody starts talking about a fenced yard because they want to keep the kids from running into the street, well, yes, that's physical safety for the kids, but what does it do for the parent? Gives them peace of mind that the kid's not going to run in the street. So in a lot of ways for me, I really think that safety is really less likely to come up because it typically means more security or a peace of mind. All right, next one is love, which we already talked about that one. And a lot of times that will show up in the kitchen or some type of family type of things. I want it to be able to show my family or my spouse or whatever how much I love them. So that one hopefully doesn't need too much explaining on. But all right, next. We're starting to get down there where hopefully I can remember them all. The next one is sex, actually, is one of the benefits. It doesn't come up a lot in terms of when you're sitting down with a client on this, but it does come up to where it can be how they're making a decision on the home. And I'll give you a quick example of that. Now, the other thing that I usually bring up when we get to this one is, in fact, I'll put it up here and say romance is another way of saying it. But for me personally, if this ever comes up, I usually just talk about it in terms of romance or some, time with their partner or whatever. But I have always offered, and I'll offer this to you guys as well. I am happy to sit in when you take a client through this. If you want me to coach you on it, like I'm not going to coach you in the middle of you doing it with an actual client, but if you want me to sit in with you on a client, I am always happy to do that. So what we would do is you would just tell your client that I'm a new agent and you're training me in this process of how to be an agent, and that I'm just going to sit in and observe your conversation. So I've done that many, many times. And so what happened though is I had an agent that was from Park City. He had his client coming down to Salt Lake so that we could sit in on this meeting. The client was there, he was there, and the client starts talking about the hot tub in the backyard. And when he had him rank them, the client said the hot tub was one of the top things. Well, he starts asking, well, who's going to use it, and how often, and what are you doing? And the guy's talking about, well, it's my wife, and we just spend some time there together, and da-da-da-da-da. Well, he then got to the tag, and he says, so what does having this hot tub mean to you? And the client said, well, it just means my wife and I can have some alone time together and spend time in the hot tub together. And for me, I would have probably gotten what he was referring to, but this agent said, oh, okay, so it sounds like is what you're looking for is a place that you and your wife can have some really good sex. And the guy goes, well, yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but yes, that is what it's about. So just know that it is possible that that is what the benefit is of what they're looking for in this feature, but you don't have to say it as sex. You could say romance or for you to have some intimate time together, however you are comfortable saying it. For me, I usually do it as romance. All right, next. I'm going to have to think for a second because I'm not sure which one I'm missing here. What am I missing? Oh, what am I missing? I usually print off and have the 15 words here in case I do this. But you know what I'll do? Hang on. I do have it here. Hang on. Let me pull it up. Let me see what I'm missing. Oh, it's the one I always miss. I don't know why I missed it. Number 15 is self-actualization. All right, so self-actualization. And think of that self-actualization as being the one and this one probably comes up the least. I think I've only actually, so sex and self-actualization have come up once each when I've done this with a client. So Self-actualization, though, typically is going to be about, like, it's the poet being writing poetry or something, meaning like, here's probably the better way of saying it. Feeling like you have figured out your purpose in life and that you're accomplishing your purpose is really what self-actualization is. That's how I usually say to think about it, is it's kind of like I'm achieving my life's purpose, and this, by doing this and having this, gives me that feeling. So it doesn't come up very often, but those are the 15 benefit words. So what you're looking for as you're taking your clients through this is them to, when you ask the tag, what does having this mean to you? So in fact, let me, I'm going to bounce back here to this. So when I go to the tag here of what does having blank mean to you, I'm looking for them to either say one of these 15 benefit words or to talk around those 15 benefit words. All right. Questions before I go on to the next piece? I'm going to give you the blueprint next. Let me see what we got here. Oh, yes, a couple people throwing in some ideas there, but nope, it's all about those 15 benefit words there. All right, so I'm going to pull up another page here. So now let me give you the blueprint of this. Let me show you what this looks like. So the blueprint of, well, I'm going to leave off blueprint. So this is the process. So think of it this way. So when you are going to do this with a client, especially, let's talk for just a minute about the buyer of a home, but really it doesn't matter, it's buyer or a seller. But let's assume that you've had them come to the office, okay? So they've come to the office. The first thing that I want to start with in this blueprint is permission. And I mentioned that to you guys on Tuesday, is you have to ask for permission. Now, what permission looks like, so I had mentioned that if you'll throw in your email address in the chat box after this, I'll send you this grid. And in fact, actually, let me, well, I'm going to wait. I'll show you the grid here at the end, and it's got the permission script on it. So you can see what it looks like on the grid. But I just don't want to stop sharing my screen to show you that grid, because I'm worried. What I'm not sure of is if I'll lose everything we've typed already on here, and I want to wait. So, okay. So, but here's what permission sounds like, is, since I'm still seeing Ellen's picture, I would say, Ellen, in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may be personal, maybe things you haven't considered. Is that going to be okay? They're going to say yes. Then I'm going to jump into the process. So you always have to start with permission. So I can't emphasize that enough. Always start with permission first. Okay. Now that I've gotten permission, the next step is then I'm going to do the directives. So we already talked about that, so which was tool number 1, right? And tool number 1 is about getting the pictures in their mind. Okay, then number 3 is, once I've done that, then I'm going to have them rank all of the, so remember, during the directives, they're going to give me a whole bunch of features. After that, I'm going to have them rank the top 2 or 3 that they've talked about. So I'm looking for the top 2 or 3 features that they mentioned. Once I've got the top 2 or 3, then I'm going to go into the modifiers. And the modifiers, I'm going to ask a minimum of 5 to 7 questions. And the purpose of those is about the decisions that they have made on this. So remember, that's what we're trying to get, is the decisions that they've made. So it's about getting the pictures, then we're ranking, then we're going to get to the modifiers, which is the decisions. I'm going to do those one feature at a time, one at a time. Once I've done that, then I'm going to go to the tag. Now remember, the tag is about invoking the feelings into it to getting to the feelings. Now, what was the purpose of us doing all of this? What are we trying to create? This is where I wish you could just unmute and say it. I hate to make you type it, but it's probably better to make you type it again because it helps you remember. And it's all about crystallization. Good job, guys. Love it. Yeah, so everything that we're doing. So once you get to the tag, right here is where crystallization should occur, right here. Now, I will tell you, this doesn't always happen, but just so you know, and you're not surprised if it does, it is not uncommon. Now, it's not going to happen a lot, but I would also say it's not uncommon. When someone crystallizes, it can become an emotional event for them too. So don't be surprised. So I'm saying don't be surprised, but also don't expect it to happen every day, every time you do it. But don't be surprised if somebody gets a little emotional and sheds a tear during that crystallization. And part of it is because what will happen is as you're doing this, remember, your brain stores information in these discrete locations. You're reintegrating it, bringing it back together. Part of that bringing it back together is they're going to be thinking about things that they maybe haven't considered for a while, that could be emotional from their past in a good way, or it could be emotional in a bad way too. But usually I've found it's more in a good way of like, oh my gosh, I just realized why I wanted this room so bad. It's because of da 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 da, whatever. That's the reason why we have to ask for permission. Why I said to you, you got to use permission at the start of this. In order for us to determine whether or not I can help you, I need to ask you some questions. Some of them may be personal, maybe things you haven't considered. Is that okay? Yes. The reason we're doing that is because some of these questions may end up being that. Now, not because of me, but because of what they want to tell you about it. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Once we have done the tag, now remember, we're doing the modifiers and the tag for each feature separately. Once we've done that and landed on it, then the next thing that I'm going to do, so remember, I've now got benefits for 2 or 3 of their features. Once I've done that, the next step is I usually am then going to talk to them now about money. And the question I ask here is how, do you plan to pay for it? Some version of that. You know, hey, I got a great picture, Ellen, of your home. How do you plan to pay for it? And they're either going to give you 1 of 2 answers. It's either cash or it's financed. And if it's cash, you want a proof of funds letter. If it's financing, I want a pre-approval letter. Okay? Then after that, number 7 on this blueprint, once we've talked about the financing and them getting a pre-approval letter or getting me a proof of funds letter, the next thing that I'm going to talk to them is I call this, I'm going to do it this way. Let me tell you how I work is the next thing. And that's a script, which again, so I'll send you, at the end here, I'll ask you guys to throw your, I mean, you can do it now if you want to, but anybody that throws an email address in the chat box, I'll send you this stuff. Oh, and you can send it to me privately if you don't want anybody else to have your email address. Just choose that down at the bottom. But if you'll throw in the email address, I'm going to send you the grid that has permission at the top. It also has the 15 benefit words at the bottom, so you don't have to have them memorized there. But I'll also then send you these scripts that I'm going to tell you right now. So this, let me tell you how I work. Let me tell you how I work script is designed around getting the buyer broker signed. So here's what I do. And so I'm going to tell it to you and then I'll send it to you. But I'm going to do this. I'm going to say, so Ellen, now that you're going to get me this proof of funds letter that shows you've got $5 million in the account in your bank to purchase this house that you want. Now that we've got that, let me tell you how I work. I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in your price range. But I'm only going to show you the ones that actually meet your needs. So now notice what I'm doing is I'm telling them, I'm going to go out and show you every home in the market, or excuse me, not show them. I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in their price range. I'm going to do it. So I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in your price range. But I'm only going to show you the ones that actually meet your needs. So remember, we've just been talking about needs analysis, all their needs. So I'm only going to show them the ones that actually meet their needs. What that means is, in my experience, I'm going to have to look at 10 to find one that would work for you. So if what that means is if we're going to go out and look at 3 or 4, I'm going to have previewed 30 to 40 homes before we go out and look at homes. I'm willing to do that provided that during the time we're working together, you'll commit to working exclusively with me. Now, let me tell you, based on taking somebody through this process, once you take them through this process, I can promise you they're not going to have a problem signing the buyer broker because you are going to have a deep connection with these people. Remember, I just said a minute ago, it's not uncommon. It's also not going to, don't expect it to happen a lot, but it's not uncommon for them to get emotional during this. when you take somebody to that place, and it's usually emotional in a good way, like they feel pretty connected to you and appreciate what you have done for them. So now when you turn around and say, hey, let me tell you how I work. I'm going to go out and look at every home in the market in your price range, but I'm only going to show you the ones that meet your needs. So in my experience, I'm going to have to look at 10 to find one. So if we're going to go look at 3 or 4, I'm going to preview 30 to 40. I'm willing to do that, provided that during the time we're working together, you'll commit to working exclusively with me. They're going to say yes. You say, great, I've got an agreement that just states that. You haven't signed the buyer broker. All right. Then the last one is, I just usually call it after setting the appointment. And this is the last thing that we do on this blueprint, is I'm going to say, okay, Ellen, you've just now signed the buyer broker. Great. I'm going to say, great. I'm going to go to work on finding properties. You go get your pre-approval letter or your proof of funds letter, whichever it is. I'm going to find properties for us to go look at 3 or 4 properties. And I usually recommend that you only go look at 3 or 4 properties with your clients, because more than that, it gets too confusing for them. So we're going to go look at 3 or 4 properties. When did you want to do that? And we're going to schedule an appointment. After I've set the appointment, this is the script I'm going to use with them, is I'm going to say, Ellen, I want to make sure we have an understanding as we go out and look at homes, that we are going out there to find a home for you to buy. Now, I don't want you to feel pressured at all as we go out and look at homes. So I don't want you to feel pressured at all. But I do want to make sure I'm not wasting your time. Now, if you remember, we started this whole discussion on Tuesday with the top 3 complaints and number 3 was that we waste their time. The reason on this script, I'm going to say to them, we're going out and looking at homes to find you one to buy. And I don't want you to feel pressured in any way at all that I'm trying to force you to do something. I just don't want to waste your time though. And so in order to ensure that I'm not wasting your time, after every house we look at, I'm going to ask you, do you want to write an offer? And a no is just as important to me as a yes. So I'm not trying to push you to buy. So it's okay if you tell me no. I'm not going to feel bad. I'm not going to try to pressure you. I just want to make sure I'm not wasting your time. So when we go out and look at homes on Saturday, be prepared for me to do that, okay? They're going to say, okay, great. Now, look at what I just did. By telling them that, I've now created a scenario that we can go out and look at houses, and I can walk into or out of the house, and I can turn and say, Ellen. Now, and I usually will do this on the first house. Now, remember, a no is just as important to me as a yes. Do you want to write an offer on this house? You set up a scenario that you can ask them, do you want to write an offer? See, what most agents do is they go out and look at a house and then they come out and go, so what do you think? And the client goes, it's all right. Let's go to the next one. See, I don't want that. I want them to make a decision. So for me, after we walk out of the house, I say, okay, do you want to write an offer on this house, Ellen? And she's either going to say yes or she's going to say no. And then a no is just as important to me as a yes. If she says no to me, perfect, great. Let's go take a look at the next house. So we go over now to the next house. We come out of that house. Ellen, do you want to write an offer on this house? No. Okay, great. Let's go to the next one. We come out of the next one. Do you want to write an offer on this house? Yeah, we do. Great. Let's go write the offer. Or I come out of one of the houses, first or second, and she says maybe, because that's usually the question that comes up. So I'll preempt your question. If they say, what if they say maybe? So let's say we come out of the first house. Ellen, do you want to write an offer on this? I don't know, maybe. Let's go look at the rest of them. Great. We go to the second one. We come out. Hey, Ellen, do you want to write an offer on this house? Let's say that she says to me, I don't know, maybe. Then what I'm going to say is this. Well, if you had to choose between the first one and the second one, which one would you choose? And if she says, well, I would choose the first one. Great. Then let's forget about the second one. Then we go to the third one. We come out. Do you want to write an offer on this house? And she's either going to say yes or she's going to say no. And if she says no, great. Do you want to write an offer on the first one? If she says maybe, I'm going to say great. If you had to choose between the first one and the third one, which one would you choose? See, I'm just constantly getting them to narrow it down. And if for some reason, though, what happens if they just say no on all of them? Nope, no, 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 no. Great. Then what I do is say to them, hey, I apologize, Ellen. I didn't want to waste your time today. And apparently I didn't do a very good job on my end. See, I take responsibility. It's my fault. I don't put it on them. I go, hey, my bad. I obviously missed something. And then I say, tell me what I missed. See, I jump right back into a directive of, hey, share with me what I missed, because I don't want to waste your time going out and looking at houses that don't work for you. So tell me what I missed. And they're going to now, well, we liked this, but we forgot to tell you that, or blah, 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 whatever it is. That's the process that I'm going to go through on it. So, all right, what questions? I am going to actually go in and unmute you guys, because for some reason I'm having other issues. I saw Ellen threw something in the chat box, but it didn't ever show up. Like it popped up on the screen, but it's not in the chat box now. So instead, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to unmute everybody. So be careful if you got something happening in the background, because you're unmuted now. All right, what questions? So did I answer your question, Ellen?
Pretty much, yeah. It was just that if you're in a home and they say, well, do you ask them what it is that makes them hesitant, or do you just leave it? How do you handle that?
Yeah, good question. You could do it either way. You could ask them right then, hey, if they're like, maybe, I probably would at that point just say, all right, hey, so what are you unsure of? Because here's why. And this is another good thing. So thank you for asking this question. Here's why. Sometimes what will happen is they'll say, I don't know. And you say, okay, well, what are you hesitant about? And they go, well, the carpet's just kind of dated. Well, at that point I go, well, hey, what if they would put new carpet in? And if they said, oh, well, if they'll put new carpet in, yeah, for sure. All right, well, should we write an offer and ask them to put new carpet in? Oh yeah, let's do that. So that's how I would say, Ellen, if for sure I would ask about if they say, we're unsure. Well, what are you unsure about? Because if it's something like that of, hey, let's just write the offer and ask them to put new carpet in, then that would probably work. So good. What other questions? You can throw them in the chat box too. I noticed a bunch of people muted themselves, which is great too. But. All right, well, I'm going to do this then. I'm going to stop this screen share here for a second. And I'm going to reshare. I want to pull up and show you this, the grid that I was talking about. So here's the grid. I'm going to have to try to make it smaller here so you can see it a little bit better. All right, so here's what the grid looks like, is this. So you can see at the top here, it's got in order for us to determine whether or not I can help you. I need to ask you a few questions that may seem personal or be things you haven't considered. Will that be okay? They're gonna say yes. Then from there, I just hand write into these boxes whatever features they're talking about. I throw those in there. Now down at the bottom, you can see I've got open-ended questions, which is the directives, help me understand. What is important is the ranking. Drill down, which is the modifiers, who, what, when, where, how, and then find out the why. Why is having that important? Summarize back to them, and here's the 15 benefit ones. So, oops, sorry, I did not mean to unshare it that quickly. So, all right, somebody threw another question in. Oh, okay, cool. All right. What other questions? Anything else I can help you guys with? And then I'm going to end it with saying this. I've taken what really is probably a 3-day class and tried to give it to you guys in 3 hours. When I say 3 days, meaning probably 6 hours, and giving it to you in about 3 hours. So just know, once we are back in a position that we're doing classes live again, I highly recommend that you come, because I'll be able to give you so much more than what I did today, meaning we can do a little bit more role plays with it and some of those things. So hopefully still helpful for you, but please come and attend again once we can do it live and in person. So anyway, if you have not thrown your email address in the chat box, throw it in there either privately to me if you don't want everybody else to see it, or just type it in there. I will send you the scripts and this grid later today, and probably in the next little bit here. I'll get it to you. But thanks for being here with me. Next Tuesday's class will be the company foundation, where we're just going to go through and talk about how the company was built and the importance of those 6 key pieces of our company foundation. So Anyway, thanks for being here with me. Have an outstanding day, and I will talk with you guys later on. So thanks for
Hey,
being
Russ.
here. Yeah, go ahead.
Do they have an idea of when the live classes might be happening again, or is that still all up in the air?
I think it's still a little in the air. I have been tempted, so I'll find out. But what I'm tempted to do, I actually am in the training room right now, and I took a bunch of the chairs and I set them up to see, okay, if we spaced them 6 feet apart, what would it kind of look like? And I think we could have probably 16, maybe even 20. And I know for Salt Lake County, that's what the thing is groups no bigger than 20. So I don't know. I guess for me, let me kind of tell you, I guess what I'm thinking. Next week's classes are the company foundation and business planning. And then the next week starts into the 12-hour new agent course, which I really want those ones probably to be live. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to shoot for not next week, but the next week of saying, okay, sign up and let's get, 6 feet apart people, but do a live class with I'll still probably Zoom it as well, but anyway.
Sweet. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Long answer. Okay, cool, man. Okay, thanks for being here, guys. Have a great one. Enjoy the day, and we will talk later on.